Thank God my camera worked because it went out on me earlier. Anyways, welcome to DawgHouse Live. This here is the 12th episode. 11th episode. 11th episode. It's been a busy few months. I appreciate you all coming in and watching the VODs and everything else. A little story back. What is the DawgHouse Live? DawgHouse Live is all about creators, developers, artists, anybody that has a story to share or has an idea they want to share. So what we do here is we try to highlight and promote, and with all the stuff that's been coming about here lately, we're actually growing a little bigger. So we've got some other ideas in the hat, in the wheelhouse that we're going to start throwing around. But today we have an awesome developer. We have Kade. He is with the MakeEchoes Twitch exclusive right now, but hopefully sooner or later, maybe with a little bit of hinting I did around earlier, it'll start going to other platforms. Just make more work for him, that's all it is. But anyways, what you guys don't know, MakeEchoes is a system that it basically takes the work out of making clips and producing them to YouTube, and now I believe we're going to be talking about can go to Twitter and some other of the social medias. So that is awesome. I've been following MakeEchoes for about the last, what is this, almost September now, so I'm going to say probably December, January.
Yep.
I had a conversation with Kade back in the early January, December. He came to my chat, and I started using the service. I don't game a lot now, so I haven't been using a lot of any services, but from what I like back before, when it first came, the alpha stages, it was an awesome platform, or an awesome tool to pull out of your wheelhouse to be able to use. Because just, one of the things is, it does take a lot of time, and I have found that here lately, editing all these videos and putting them together. I'm still on one from last Friday night that ended up going way too long than what it should, and I'm trying to pull the interview out of 7 hours of footage. So I understand what editing's all about now. So this MakeEchoes makes editing so much easier. It streamlines it. You can features on it and everything else, which we'll get into. But
sure.
Without further ado, I'm going to bring the man himself on, and we're going to talk about MakeEchoes. So make sure, oh God, I hope this works. I always sit there. I test it all out before I go, but it never fails. Something always ends up. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, Kade Dworkin. Let's see, hopefully. Please.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the introduction, and thank you for being a user of the product in its alpha year, right? This all started because of a offhanded comment by a mutual friend between myself and Clintus, and it's been an incredible ride. And as a result of so many different creators being super willing to give their feedback and their time, that we're able to sit there and improve the product in every stage of the process. And I couldn't be happier with where it's at right now, and I'm excited about where it's going.
Yeah. No, like I said, when I first started using this service back then, I was into gaming. I was one of those streamers that I've only been doing this I've only been in the streaming world, I want to say, for about 2 years, a little over 2 years. I started out on Twitch, went to Mixer, and then came back to Twitch when Mixer had its snafu.
The elimination?
Yeah. That's another nightmare story in itself. But I mean, it didn't affect me as much as it did the rest of them, but it's still, I had to start over.
Johnny and Heidi are, friends or people that I am friendly with, and they, had an entire music business based over there that they then had to bring over to Twitch. And, they just celebrated, I believe it was, I don't know, 3 or 4 months back, they celebrated their year. And, that process is incredible. And, these are two incredibly talented individuals who have their own careers inside of country music. And that's one of those things where the platforms will change, content and the attention economy will not. And that's one of the things that I think that I have such a different perspective on than most people, let alone most developers. And so I think that we're going to have some very, very interesting conversations over the next, 90 plus minutes in order to sit here and have some fun about it all. Because I've been in this space since 2008, 2009. And this is something that I don't think you know about, Joe, and the fact that I wrote my master's thesis on YouTube and a company called Revision 3 that eventually got bought by Discovery Networks and then rolled into Discovery Plus. And this is way back in the day. So when it was 14 people, I was in the office kind of thing. So it's a very interesting perspective that I have on the attention economy. And then on top of that is that, and I don't think, Joe, you know this either, is the fact that I worked at VaynerMedia and I was part of the Gary V engine in the earliest days. Yeah. So I was employee number 17 at VaynerMedia when the event happened where he made the announcement that he was starting an agency was here at South by Southwest here in Austin, where I currently reside. And that was the senior year of his brother's senior year at Boston College that he announced that he was going to start VaynerMedia. And I stood outside and I grabbed Gary and I was like, "You're going to hire me." And sure enough, it took about 10 months of work in order to actually make it happen. But Gary eventually hired me, and I was employee number 16 or 17, depending upon whose count you take.
Wow.
At VaynerMedia. And so I worked with a ton of brands working big time social media stuff in 2010, 2011. Wow.
Yeah, I like Gary Vee. I watch a lot of his stuff on YouTube and stuff like that. It's interesting to find. That's why I say. That's why I was telling you before the show. That's why I like talking and finding out some of these new things that you would never know anywhere else. So yeah, it's like firsthand look, guys. And this is his first. What'd you say, since 2020?
Yeah, so it's almost we're literally about 3 or 4 weeks away from the last time I did a podcast interview about Echoes. And so in that time, right, at that point it had just launched and it was kind of finding its footing. And since then, there's been a lot of changes, a lot of code, a lot of opportunity to work with folks. I mean, at this point, I think I did the year. So 2 weeks ago, August 12th, as it was, August 12th was the anniversary date of the launch. And in that time period, Echoes was in chat rooms working with creators for 27,000 plus hours.
Wow.
That's more than any human being could sit on Twitch. And so that's one of those few things where I know that I'm building something that is incredibly interesting and simultaneously no human could do, which is why it's an interesting situation in regards to two pieces, which is the editing and compilation of clips and making content from content. But then there's also the secondary piece, which a lot of folks miss, is the fact that there's an opportunity to have editors use that as their source material versus having to sit in a stream for 6, 8, 10, 12, 15 hours a day to be able to say, okay, cool, this is the source material, or hey, the system provides the timestamp so they can go back and if they want an extra 30 seconds or an extra 90 seconds on the end, they can go in and go get that exact time. But someone in the ecosystem has marked down that this is a clip worth having. Yeah. And that is where, for me, it gets to be very interesting.
Yeah. And just so everybody knows, you are a one-man group, right?
Yeah. So I have one individual who actually helps me in regards to strategy. So Rocco is one of my best friends. He's been a partner in a lot of things. I have advised his companies in the past. And so he's just somebody who I speak with for, anywhere from 90 minutes to 2 hours twice a week in order to keep me in check. Yeah. But away from that, it is 100% me. I've written every line of code, every git commit, every deploy to server has been myself.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's one of the things that amazed me. Is just by the, I love to listen, especially the solo people that come up and do all this stuff. And then it's dedication, hard work, determination, and you've got to have a love for it,
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's a matter of, can you put yourself parts of and this sounds so hoaxy, but given what I do for a living, it's kind of it's a reality, is that you have to put part of your soul into every piece that you develop. And that's where, for me, it gets to be a lot of fun, is that I know what the best practices are from the old school YouTube days all the way into what is now TikTok. And it's so interesting to sit here and see how little shifts in the code or little shifts in the video product can command attention very quickly.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like, it's just a matter of like, okay, cool. Like, if I can know all of these things, and I'm, 15, 20 years into my career now, where are we going to be in another 15 or 20 years? And can I continue to be relevant in that ecosystem? That's where my brain goes to right now, of like, all right, I have an incredible knowledge of, old school. I mean, Mr. Safety, right? Corey Williams on YouTube is somebody that nobody knows in the current YouTube ecosystem. But Corey was, a big time YouTuber, similarly that Charles Trippy was, right? Way back in the day. And these are guys who I've known for years and years and years. I mean, like, Corey is a professor at Oklahoma State University now, speaking on viral video. Yeah. And so, like, it's one of those things where it's just like, you would never guess that, like, that's where people would land. But, he did his Do Like Hella channel, and then everything else that he's done, Live Each Day, and everything else that Corey's been a part of. And he's just a great human being. And, content is content is content. And that's the attention economy that we all play in at this point on, I have a horrible saying, which we may get into, which is social media is no longer social. It's just simply media.
Yeah.
And you have to act, if you're going to play in this space, that it's just media.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the things, and with everything that's happened in the last 2 years, just like with Twitch and stuff like that, or with any streaming platform, the viewership, the viewer themselves has changed. There's a new rising of new viewers, new mentality between the viewers. So you've got to be able to up your game, and you've got to be able to try to strike attention or try to grab their attention in less time than what I think it used to be when streaming, within the last 3 years. Because I mean, like, I talk to everybody, it's like the first 10 seconds of somebody coming into your stream is usually when you grab their attention. And I think that's lowered because of the fact of the new viewers that are out. And so
that is 100% the case, right? We watched it happen on YouTube analytics, right?
Yeah.
Way back in the day, of like watching the first 7 seconds of a video, right? And that was the hook for people to stick around for 30, 60, 90 seconds. And then you see about 60% of the folks stick through to the end of the video, or within the last 10% of it, right? And so, like, it's in some respects very much a repetition of what has happened previously, where, like, one of my father's favorite artists to go see live is Bruce Springsteen, and that man throws down every time like it's his last show. And that's why, for me, like, I've always enjoyed seeing Bruce play, and it's just like, because he gives everything. But you can't, in my mind, give everything for 7 hours 7 days a week forever. Like, there's going to come a downtime where you need to take a breath, or you're just kind of going through the motions. But Bruce will sit there and say, hey, like, hey, I'm doing my 3-hour set and I'm going to blow your face off. And I think that Dave Grohl at the Foo Fighters is the same way, right? I mean, I saw a clip from him last night in Inglewood, and I was just like, okay, like, I wish I was back in California and I could have gone to that show.
That would have been dope.
Well, he had Nandi down on stage with him, the little young drummer girl.
Really?
Who he's been doing battles with on the internet during the pandemic.
I've seen that.
She was on stage with him and played the first song, and it was kind of one of those things where, like, of a special moment. I wish I could have been there for it. But I now live 1,500 miles away in Texas. So.
One of a time. And that's kind of what, making good clips and getting, like I said, MakeEchoes takes the work out of it. And it allows you to be able to be more free with, not having to worry, because it's in the back of all of our minds. It's just like, that's why I try, when I do my editing on my videos and stuff like that, it's like, it's always in the back of my mind, especially if something happened during the video interview or something like that. It's like, oh, it's back there. It's like, oh, I've got to make sure I mark that one in my mind. It's like, okay, I got to go back and do that. Even though it's going to be hard for people not to do that anyways, but with MakeEchoes, if more people, once they get used to using it, and your chat can use it, or your mods can use it, and plus your Stream Deck or hotkeys, I mean, it's accessible no matter what. So
yeah, I want to step in here though and say that those are all things that happened as a result of customer feedback, right? So I started this and I said, okay, cool. It's going to be the streamer and the moderators sending chat commands in Twitch chat, exclamation point echo as that initial piece. And as a result of the initial like super alpha testing, like immediately after launching it with the 6 streamers that I worked with, they sat there and they're like, hey, can we get like 90-second clips? Can we get 45-second clips? Can we get 60-second clips? Can we get the moderators involved? Can we get people who are, fans who are there, right? And so to start to work all of those pieces out was such a necessary piece. And then Professor Broman challenged me during the last season, I guess 3 or 4 seasons back, whatever it was, about a year ago, during the Destiny 2 season launch. He sat there and he's like, hey, I want everyone. I don't care who they are inside of my chat room. I want all the clips. And so what I lovingly call Rumble mode, aka everyone can throw in.
Yeah.
It sat there and that became a factor inside of that space. And so similar to the Stream Decks and everything else was that like, I wanted people to make this as easy as possible to create secondary content because so much of my career inside of the Gary V world was, reclipping things down, making things Facebook ads, making things Instagram ads, and reworking with the team while I was doing all of their closed captioning to sit there and say, okay, cool. Like, how can we make more content from Gary's 90-minute keynote? Can we sit there and can we make 12 pieces of content from that are going to stand up on their own? And the answer that myself and Kranich, formerly Gary's head of his personal brand, but now is the head of VFriends, Andy Kranich is his full name there. And so if you tend to send out a tweet to @Kranich, he'll sit there and he'll see that. And he's a great human being as well. But we really pushed the envelope on a lot of the pieces on making content from your content. And to really micro content out to just grab enough attention inside of the news feed or inside of a Twitter feed or an @reply that your friend made to sit here and keep you engaged and make Gary's brand aware. I'm working with a lot of these other folks now who are much smaller brands, but at the same time leveraging the knowledge of what Gary and Yoga with Adrian and everyone else that I've worked with in the background in my career, like I know what those people are doing. And so let's try and scale that for the smaller creator because they're trying to gain attention too.
Oh, of course. No, and that's what I'm saying. It's just like, like I said, when you think about, as a creator, when you think about editing, that is like, it's the most stressful thing about the job, I believe, especially if you're like trying to promote or trying to get. It's the last thing
that you want to do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because like you just sat in that chair for what, 4, 5, 6 hours, 10 longer, and then you want to sit back down and then be like, okay, cool, let me watch back everything that I just made. Like that's what the reason why most content creators, the first person that they hire is an editor. That's right. Like because they either don't want to do that or they know that it's outside of their skill set.
Yep.
And so to be able to sit there and hand that off to someone else whose full job, I don't care if that's part-time, full-time, whatever, is to make that content more compelling.
Yeah.
That's the best, to sit there and make it facilitate towards additional content where they can sit there and they can just be themselves, be that camera ready person. And then on top of that, be that talent that draws people in, or at least they hope draws people in.
Yeah. And, and like I said, with this here, creating content, it's one of the, it's like the streamer 101. It's just like, everybody's talking about, especially with the debacle with Mixer and everything else, is like, do not put your eggs in all one basket. So, and I'm a firm believer of that.
Not just Mixer, man. That was YouTube before in the adpocalypse where, everybody lost 40% of revenue overnight. Like, I mean, like it like, to me, this is all rented land, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm seeing currently, even on, you know, Mix or on Fan House and OnlyFans and everywhere else, Patreon, like what I'm seeing there is more rented land.
Yeah.
Few people are focusing the way that, you know, we are in my day job at Yoga with Adrian, Find What Feels Good. The app behind that is emails.
Yeah.
I can fight that email game all day long because that's a more fun challenge to sit there and say, okay, cool. How do we get this email delivered to 385,000 people within 12 hours? Like that's a different ball game, but we can control what that messaging is once it's delivered.
Yeah.
And we can make other things happen on the back end in order to make enough money because we sell product or we sign people up for a membership or whatever, right? We can make all of those pieces happen. And most folks don't understand that, like, they don't own anything inside of, you know, any of these platforms because you are the product as a creator. They need to make money off of you. And secondarily is that as you are a smaller creator, you are less likely to be you are more risky in their eyes as a platform because they don't know what you're going to do.
Yeah.
And that's a huge piece that, like, you know, most people sit there and be like, okay, cool. Like, hey, I logged into my YouTube analytics and I actually saw that I had ads run today because I have my 4,000 hours and 1,000 subscribers and everything else. And hey, great. And if you think for a half second that Claritin is staring down every one of your videos, you're wrong. So, like, for the brand's activations that really matter for creators, you know, the things that, you know, the top 1% of creators make on a platform, like at that point, the brands do care. And YouTube and Twitch and Amazon and anywhere else, they care at that level because guess what? You have to be super brand safe and you have to, like, that's where they're going to make the vast majority of their money, and people's jobs and careers are completely made at that point. So if you are a smaller creator on these platforms, you are a rounding error 99.999% of the time until taken in aggregate, at which point you're now 5 or 8% of what the attention sphere is.
Yeah. And, you know, like I said, I don't game much anymore, but, you know, I still have my community every once in a while when they come in, if they see something, you know, when we have like some of our certain type of shows, but if I have my mods or something in here, you know, if they see something they like, they clip it, you know, but usually it's just something that it just stays on Twitch, and then I don't usually do much with these shows, but no, it's just like when I was using it, when I was testing it out, when I first used it, you know, and I was really impressed the fact that, you know, you could sit there and in your settings have it whenever the embargoes, you know, you can put on there when the embargo's done with Twitch, and it'll upload it to YouTube. And I tested it out the very first night that I seen that. I'm like, okay, I'll go, let's see if, you know, see if it actually works. Because I've seen it, you know, people try to do it before, and it's just like, it just sits out there somewhere.
So like the way that came about was, you know, like Clintus is a dear friend of mine, right? And, you know, like literally we used to hang out in person at least once a month to go and grab lunch. And he's been a content creator for 15, 16 years now, full time for the last 6. And, you know, one of his big concerns when we started playing around with this was, okay, cool, I'm uploading these things directly to his Clintus Games channel. And as a result of that, like, it was technically breaking his contract with Twitch. Because he was a recruited creator who did not have to go through the initial kind of, hey, like, I'm not a partner, because he was a partnered streamer on YouTube Gaming and he was a partner on YouTube.
Okay.
So he kind of got that shortcut. But he sat there and he's like, yeah, man, like, I want this to be a thing, but I don't want this to like screw how I'm, you know, making the vast majority of my money. And so I had to really take a look at, you know, okay, cool. Like, how do I handle that? And right now the system does a default upload for people like, you know, yourself in that scenario of an unlisted video that you can then have the extra time, but there's a countdown timer that sits there and says, okay, cool, this is how long you have until 24 hours has elapsed and you're free to promote that. That stated, like, I think that Twitch in particular is willing to give a little bit of grace if you're trying to do stuff like draw people into the stream, which is the reason why the clips going directly to Twitter and very, very soon to Facebook and Instagram is going to be such a thing where like they're not gonna like. I've yet to hear of all the creators that I've worked with or the people that I have had as clients. I've never heard of anybody getting a strike or a question on their contract relating towards disseminating content elsewhere, which is why for me, it's not a mission critical thing to sit here and say, okay, cool. Like I'm going to do a delay on 24 hours plus and then upload public because I feel like there's enough tweaking that needs to be done in order to work that algorithm on YouTube. So it's just like, okay, cool. Like let's upload as unlisted. As soon as it's done, 6 minutes after your stream ends, you have a full video up there. You can sit there and you can do the thumbnail and the metadata and everything else that you need to do. Yeah. And that's optimizing for that platform, which is something that I think a lot of people don't do appropriately from Twitch, from Facebook gaming, from all of these other platforms, is that you don't optimize in order to have the greatest impact on each of the platforms that you're pushing towards, which is one of the many reasons why Echoes needed to exist and why it's such an interesting project to work on, is that optimization part is so intriguing because that's where it absolutely makes all the difference in the world. Yeah,
I'm bad at that. I'm still learning the YouTube side of it, of getting the videos and everything up there and hitting the keywords right and all that crap. There's so much. I can understand why people hire editors and producers basically for their shows.
Keyword optimizers, thumbnail optimizers are also a thing. Like, I mean, when we're playing, at my day job, right? I work with Yoga with Adrian, which is a 10 million plus subscriber channel, the largest in the health and wellness space on YouTube. Been there for 9+ years. Actually, next month, as we record this, so September, will be 10 years that the channel has existed.
Oh, wow.
And, we're going to cross 1 billion lifetime views. That's incredible. And we have an entire infrastructure of a team behind our one video a month that we make right now. And then on top of that, we have the 30 days of yoga. That's its own thing. So we have a lot of infrastructure that small time content creators don't have. And as a result, we're able to optimize 100% of everything we do, including our back catalog, in order to sit there and try and drive attention or have the algorithm love us more. So I empathize with people like yourself, where you're one person and you only have so much time. Where's the best use of that time hey, are you going to optimize that thumbnail? Are you going to optimize the search data? Are you going to close caption it? Where are you at? And some people that's going to be a great thing. Other people, that's not going to be enough. Yeah. And so it at a certain point, it does matter about the content, the quality of your content, the talent that you have. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's always going to be a factor. Yeah. As much as people don't want it to be. And people who, go on live on stream and stream to 1 or 2 people, which you should be super thankful for. Yeah. Right. That anybody's paying attention. But at the end of the day, there's signs to sit there and say, okay, cool. Maybe this isn't the thing that you're supposed to be doing 100% of your time towards. Let's be real about this. Yeah. And that's not fun for a lot of folks to sit there and have their hobby or their dream be dashed by reality.
No, I did that. I mean, I was in that same boat. That's the reason why I switched gears, because you have to find, if you stream, like you said, if you stream for 1 hour or to 1 or 2 viewers or 10 viewers or even, and it doesn't go any higher than that, and then sooner or later you're going to have to find out what works better for you. And that's what I did. I sit there, I actually took a big break off because I did for for December, January, and February of this year. I put everything I had into it. I streamed 7 days a week. I streamed on top of my 50 to 60 hour work week. Yep. I streamed for the month of January my month of February, I think, was my highest. I streamed over 220 hours, on Twitch.
It's a lot of work.
And it didn't get me nowhere.
And so then it becomes a couple of different questions in my mind, right? And this is where, my background in all of the space comes in, which is, hey, is it the content itself or is it the marketing around the content? Yeah. And that's where a lot of people think hey, they aren't talented or hey, they can't gain an audience. And the question mark in my mind is, have you not gained an audience because people don't know you exist, or have you not gained an audience because your content is not good?
Yeah.
And there's a vast delta between those two things.
Yeah, and that's kind of, that's kind of what you want. When I seen this and talked to you in chat and stuff that night, it's just like, that's one of the things that kind of made me realize it's like, okay, it's like discoverability. It's the worst thing there is across any platform is discoverability.
It's literally against the platform's initiatives to make you more discoverable, because they are taking on risk for every platform, every individual content creator that they promote, because you're 1 second away from somebody saying a racial slur or using inappropriate content next to, sponsored ads. Or any one of these things can happen. So I certainly appreciate, it's having worked with the team at YouTube, having worked with the team at Amazon and at Facebook and at YouTube and Google, it's not in their interest to make things harder for themselves. No. But they also want to surface new creators. And so it's this constant battle internally in each one of these companies, regardless of new websites or new video content or anywhere else, right? It's just a matter of balance. And so they have a really tough job, and I don't empathize. I empathize with them. I don't want to sit there and disvalue what they do, but at the same time, it's a very hard job, and I would not want to be in that seat.
No, and that's why I said when I was doing that, and you're right. You could be. It doesn't matter, even if you're a mediocre, as long as you can draw a few people in, that's a plus. So but streaming to another or not streaming, but networking, get your stuff out there, do things what you need, find out what works for you, but also being able to promote yourself. You've got to have something to promote yourself, which I think this is a great tool, especially for beginner streamers and stuff like that, because it's already here. They don't have to research it. They don't have to do anything else. They don't have to find a way to get their VODs up. They don't have to find a way to get their clips up. With this one program, you can, it clips and it also puts together montages and it uploads for you.
Yeah, so. And there are secret features that are in the tool that I don't publicize. So, for individuals, I have a very soft spot for musicians. And musician streamers for me in particular are the ones who would most value either the entire clip, the entire, song being pushed to YouTube, which is now a thing on the platform. Yeah. Or people like my DJs, right? My electronic music EDM folks that I love. And you saw me before the show. I was rocking out, a light show and everything, because that's the way that I built my studio here. Yep. And so I sit there and I nerd out about that stuff. And so sending an entire VOD is something that is built into the platform. I just don't publish that's a feature right now. And so I sit here and I make, and including even cutting off, the first kind of intro section. So for people like Kaylee Grace, if she wants to cut off the first 9 minutes and 50 seconds and have the 8-second or 9-second, depending upon her latency to Twitch's servers, countdown start, that is a feature that is on the platform that I don't publish, because I want things like that to always be available when I see that there's a real need for them. Yeah. Versus me building it in and saying, okay, cool. I'm going to do 3 uploads to your YouTube channel as soon as you end your stream, because I'm going to do the full VOD. I'm going to send the second, video that's going to be just compilation clips that you've clipped, or, hey, this is the clips from everybody in the community, including your mods, your viewers, your users, whomever, is there. Yeah. And so there's a piece of me that sits here and says I should do a better job of that. But then there's also a piece of me that loves the fact that there are those secret things where I can pop into somebody's stream like I did with you, hang out for 2 hours and okay, so hit refresh. That's my favorite thing to do as a developer, to be this is just hit refresh, because it's already done, because I've already either heard that request, or hey, it's a simple enough thing for me to do. Oh, wow. And I'm sitting here on this giant rig that I have with multiple screens and just make it happen for people, because as She Snap says on Twitch, right? So she's a friend of mine. She said that my engineer brain goes to I fix as soon as there's any kind of question, right? So it's not hey, okay, cool. I just need to feel heard in this moment. It's Kate goes into brain of fix all the things. And
yeah.
I hate to say it, but Snaps is right. Jess is right about that. Is that like my brain instantly wants to be like, problem for friend, solve problem. Like exactly. And as quickly as possible. And so that's where for me it gets to be a lot of fun. But there's also a piece of me that sits here and says like, okay, cool. Like how can I make people want to learn more about this platform and get more out of it because they've learned a little bit more?
Yeah.
That to me is where I think I really have done a disservice to the platform, but simultaneously, like it gives me something fun to do when I sit in on sessions like I did overnight 3 days or 4 days ago, whatever it was, with Lanera Asuna. So like, you know, like I was hanging out with her, and she's was testing out the product at that point, similar to the way that you were. And so I try and make an effort to get into every one of my trialist streams.
Wow.
And it's not going to scale. But for right now, when it's, okay, cool, I have at most a half dozen people trialing the product, I'm willing to make the effort. And that means that if I need to shift my sleep schedule by 6 hours because somebody's in a different area of the world, or that's what their streaming schedule is, okay, I make the effort.
Yeah. No, I was really impressed. Like I said, he just popped in and sat there and started talking to me. And I just thought he was just a normal viewer. And then then he started talking about MakeEchoes. And then I'm like, oh, okay. He told me he was the developer and the creator of it, and I'm like, oh, and so we had a pretty lengthy conversation.
You see, like I try and give myself enough space so that hey, like you get the opportunity to use the product as it is, right? And so every email, even transactional emails, come out from with me signing on the end of every one of those emails. So at the end of every stream, what ends up happening is that the individual clips themselves and the compilations that have been uploaded to YouTube and a link to the YouTube studio are all in a single email for the users of the platform. And then at the end is, hey, cheers, Kade, and PS, if you have any questions, concerns, problems, fire back an email, because like, it scares me when I don't get any kind of response from people, because like I'm always worried, like, okay, cool, like is the email not working, is the tool not working, like what's going wrong here? And then like there are days like whatever it was 2-3 days ago where I almost crossed that first bound, which I've been trying to do for over a year now, which is having a streamer live for 24 straight hours. Now granted, that's not a single streamer, that's the entire platform and the entire set of folks, and I've gotten close within like 40 minutes now, like 5 times. And like that's like one of those things where, again, right, I have dozens of creators, not hundreds. It will happen. It's just a matter of when. Yeah. And so in the meantime, though, I'm willing to sit here and try and do everything I possibly can to make a better tool, because half of my features, I'll be completely honest, about 3/4 of the features that have actually gone into production are suggestions from creators, because I was sitting in their chat room for 2 hours where I was not like either them or their moderators or the users who have been approved. Like that's where it comes from, is that these people like finally get comfortable enough to be honest. Like that's not going to happen in the first 5 seconds of me rolling in and be like, hey, I'm the guy behind MakeEchoes and I'm amazing. And it's like, no, like, no, like it's much more fun for me to slow roll it where you have context on the platform, and then I roll in, and I don't roll in with the @MakeEchoes handle. I roll in with my Kade Dworkin handle. And like, and then I'm like, so like, and I love doing this in the regards like, hey man, thank you so much for using MakeEchoes. I really appreciate it. And they're like, your name looks really familiar. And I'm like, because I'm in your email inbox after every stream. So
Linception just sit there and message or put a chat out. Says, I've got 24 hours coming up. She told you to hold tight.
So Linception happens to be one of the original kind of early people. I think he actually joined on day 0. And so like he was one of the first people to jump in, and he is, he's a professional game producer. And so he like legitimately knows his stuff. He formerly worked on Warzone and is now working on a new game, which we can't talk about. It's a ton of fun. And he's a great human being, but he has been super willing to give feedback. And as the team and the friends that he plays with on Friday nights, MakeEchoes is a thing that is in the chat room for them to actually play with. And they have done a tremendous job to, pushing me and simultaneously being respectful of the fact that, like, I'm a one-man shop doing this on my nights and weekends. Yeah, but if I hear something interesting from them, I'm gonna do whatever I can. And yeah, well, Inception is one of those people who has a very special place in my heart, similarly to _CR, who's currently back in Montreal due to some family stuff. But he's just like, yeah, again, right? These people, like, they make this work not feel like work. And that's the best.
Oh, yeah. He said also, he goes, jokingly gifting subs to the bot is the best.
So a lot of people people sat there and they initially started joking gifting the bot, and then I sat there and I made it so when you issue a chat command, the bot responds and says, "Hey, I saw that." What I ended up doing was I made the chat responses editable by users, and I was just thinking, like, okay, cool, they're just gonna make it contextually appropriate, and I didn't think about the fact that they could actually go in there and actually use their own emotes in the responses coming back from the bot. And so as a result, now it's like, I don't know, whatever, once a week, twice a month, whatever it is, I log in and I'm like, oh, all these people have gifted MakeEchoes 6 months because, and to me, that's one of the biggest leading indicators that, like, yeah, sure, I only charge monthly. I don't allow annual plans because I want people to have the flexibility to say, hey, I'm done streaming, similarly to the way that you did. Yeah. Like, I don't want to sit there and, like, have people lose money for nothing. Like, and so, but when I see that, I'm like, oh, it's going to be around for 6 months, a year, whatever. And so, like, yeah, so they and Inception's crew in particular, because they're a bunch of nerds who all play in the video game space, they have a ton of fun with what's going on behind the scenes in order to sit there and make great content on their Friday night, drive fight nights that they do, and it's the best. So.
Yeah, and you gotta have fun. I mean, that's just the number one thing about anything. If you don't make what you're doing fun, period, no matter what you do in life, it becomes a job, it becomes a chore, it becomes mundane, and it's not worth doing it anymore. Because I kind of like have that same, my functionality in my job I do now. I've been doing the same thing, different locations, but the same thing for over 20 years now. So for me, it's time for a change. And hopefully with the people I've got behind me, building the DawgHouse Live section, and stuff like that, hopefully, that will be something that I can be here to, to put more time into.
Sure.
But no, so that's what I'm saying. Anything you do, if you have a passion for it and you have the love to do it, streaming, developing, talk showing, anything like that, as long as you show that you can do it, it will produce and it will grow. So.
Well, it might, but it'll, like, I make the joke all the time that content reaches, like, content reaches its level. Right, is that there's a certain point that certain things need to go to, and that it'll always recede back to that. And that's one of those things where, right, I did, the content creation side of things, right? I did 1,190 consecutive vlogs on YouTube, where including in that time period was 182 days where I was homeless by adventure, where I drove through all 48 contiguous states.
Oh, wow.
Like incredible opportunities and things that I really went out of my way to make happen. That stated, it's at a certain point when I sit there and I'm staring down at 60 views, those are 60 human beings that have watched that, including probably my dad and my stepmom a couple of times and all that other stuff, like my sister. But, because they needed digital signs of life while I was all around the country. But all that said is to sit here and say, okay, cool. Like, is that 100% useful, right? Is this the best impact that I can have with my time?
Yeah.
And like any content creator, at a certain point, the answer is no. And, certain people, like, that's going to change. For you, that might be, you might become very much the Andrew Mason of, the Twitch and the live stream era, because he was doing, on Mixergy.com, for those who are not aware of who Andrew is, he was doing these long form 30-minute interviews with top level people, but it didn't start at top level people. It started with whomever he could get on his show. And some of those people became top level people because they built companies that became real things. And I definitely think there is an opportunity for people to have differing kinds of content, but also be in a position to say, okay, what else can I do with all of this? What else can I do with these skills? Because you may be a 7 out of 10 content creator, but you could be a 9 out of 10 producer for content, but you're never going to get the attention of that unless you're willing to play the game like it is in TV land or movie land out in LA, sitting from your home, where you're at, where I'm at here in Texas. Like, people aren't going to know about that, and they're not going to trust that unless they can see the work.
Yeah.
And so for yourself, like, you're producing this content, you've got, people and production that you're putting behind it, and either the content's going to succeed or your skill set's going to grow, and you're going to be able to understand what people who are in the chair that you're currently in need in order to make more successful content, which is, light speed to, someone who actually is going through the process of creating it themselves, and they have that X factor, they have that extra success piece.
Oh, and trust me, even though I don't game anymore, I am going to start utilizing this now because, I'm to a point now where I'm a little bit more comfortable and I've got everything set up what I need to do.
Yep.
And like I said, I didn't realize until I logged on today to try to get on, and it said my subscription had expired. I was like, what the hell? So anyways, I resubscribed to it today, and
thank you. But like, that's again, right. I take actions where if somebody doesn't have a VOD on Twitch, they literally cannot sign up for the service. It literally says you're not in a position to do so. Yeah. If somebody doesn't create a VOD within 30 days or create a clip within 90, the system automatically unsubscribes you from the service.
Okay.
And that's again, right. It's one of those things where it is a respect level, because I don't want to be that gym membership on somebody's credit card a year later and feel like this level of, like, I don't want to say guilt, but like angst against the platform of like, hey, like, this guy didn't have my back, where it's like I'm staring down at every one of these credit card charges. Even last night at 10:30 at night, I was like, okay, cool, is this person in trial going to actually convert? Like, we're gonna see. Like, I know she got the email like 3 days ago, but like, these people, stuff happens. So it's more fun to sit here and say, okay, cool, like, what can I do that's in the best interest of creators, even when it hurts my financial pocket? Because at the end of the day, like, either people use the tool or they don't. If they're not using it, I don't want them on the platform.
Thanks for hanging out.
That's me. Like, that's just me. And there are pluses and minuses with it. Trust me, the business brain, the MBA that I have says, like, this is not the right move.
Yeah.
And then there's a piece to me that sits there and says, like, but at the end of the day, like, I have to do this business in a way that's congruent with me.
Yeah. Yeah, Lynn Simpson, thank you for the follow, and thank you for hanging out with us a little bit. He says he's got to run, so he just says
Chris!
Keep it up. Welcome in, Triple Trey. Welcome in, Dark. Some of my people that come in every once in a while. So, but no.
That's awesome.
But yeah, no, that's what talking to you and getting this interview set up and everything else over the last few weeks, it's one of the things too. It's like I started realizing it's like, okay, I mean, I've got the clip button on my Stream Deck, but 9 out of 10 times it don't work. And but no, I mean, now that I know the little part about the VOD thing and stuff like that, that'll be interesting to understand a little bit later on. But I can there are times, especially like in our we have what's called a Fireball Friday night.
Well aware.
we christened it Friday night, and actually the bottle sitting behind me I turned into a lamp that disappeared like that night. But anyways, to commemorate the occasion. But no, it's like nights like that right there, or times like this, something to make a highlight clip, of an important aspect of the thing, even if it's just like a few second clip, it helps me out in the long run producing that because like I said, one of the things I do for you guys and for anybody that comes on the show is I am the producer, I'm the host, I'm also the graphic artist, I'm also the the editor and everything else. I said, I'm starting to bring on more people. I do have a partner now, and she's kind of, I don't know how far she wants to. This is like we were talking last night. And I go, you sure you want to go with me down this rabbit hole? Because I've got like 9 billion things in my head that I want to do. So I created a special thing in our Discord for my memory dump. So I told her, I go, so instead of me putting these ideas out to you every time, I'll just put them in there and you can go through them whenever you have time to read them.
Well, I mean, but at the end of the day, like, you're sitting there and you're trying to, be creative, right? At the end of the day, right? That's what you're trying to do, is you're trying to express yourself in the best way you possibly can. And Echoes in particular sits here and tries to reduce the number of steps in order to making the thing that you want to be a thing. Yeah. And that's where, for me, right, you know, like one of the biggest requests that I've had since the launch of Echoes just over a year ago is, can clips simultaneously be marked as clips inside of the Twitch ecosystem? And my response always was no, because I didn't want to ask for that level of permission inside of their Twitter or their Twitch accounts. And like the fight that has gone on with a lot of my friends behind the scenes and the users of the platform make it abundantly clear that that needs to be a thing. Yeah. And so one of the pieces that is on the board that's literally right there, which you guys can't see, of course, is, you know, okay, cool. Like, asking for a lot more Twitch and YouTube permissions away from what I initially asked for. So right now the system only asks for the ability to be inside your chat room in order to send chat responses, which you can suppress and whatever, right? You can all happen. That stated, like, Echoes behind the scenes can also do, sorry, I got distracted with you pulling things up on the website. It's all good. So Echoes behind the scenes can do a lot more. And so by doing more in both the delay of uploads and the actual delay of uploads, where it is getting past 24 hours, and then simultaneously, it's all good. And secondarily, to sit there and say, okay, cool, like, where are the additional features that we can add in that, much like clips, like, I can't control what happens inside of the YouTube ecosystem or inside of the Twitch ecosystem relating to clips, but I can do a lot of things in order to make these things have parity. And I didn't want to make the Twitch ecosystem better as a result of using MakeEchoes, but hearing it time and again and again and again made it abundantly clear that as soon as I make the Helix transition, which for people who aren't aware, the Twitch version 5 API is going away, aka Kraken, is being replaced by Helix. We'll put air quotes around replaced. And so I'm having to redo a lot of the code that I did a year and a half ago in order to sit here and actually make it functional for the next 5+ years. And so that's where a lot of my time and dedication is going into, and making the Helix transition. And then once I do that, is changing the scopes with which I can play inside of the Twitch APIs, which will allow folks like yourselves to, you know, press a button once on your Stream Deck or an echo command from your approved users or moderators, and not only will it actually create the clip that will be used on the YouTube videos, but it'll also be created as a clip natively on Twitch itself, so that you can go back and use that on that platform should Twitch decide that they want to play more in that space for whatever reason.
Oh, heck yeah. So that's okay. Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, because I was going through these when I, you know, finally got to realizing that I wasn't subscribed. So I was kind of like reading through this stuff.
I get left with the stream all by myself.
Oh no, I was doing something really quick while I was listening to you, but because I'm still getting used to this program, so that's why I'm saying there's a lot of flashes and a lot of screen blackouts.
It's all good.
It's getting better. This interview was actually better. And if I touch my mouse just right, you know, and it hits the taskbar, everything disappears.
Yeah, you all went away. Yeah, it's all good though. So so we can talk about, you know, the individual advanced features that you have here on screen, right? So Echo Multi, which is the ability that the system has to do the math, the date-time math, to actually have corresponding clips from multiple streams that actually line up. So you can do multi-clips. And so that was a result of that happened in March. And so Clintus was playing with Dr. Lupo, and Lupo made a comment of like, hey, get 9 people together, get 3 groups of 3, grab all the clips. That's a banger YouTube video. And so I took the challenge on that Thursday, and by the following Wednesday, it was a fully functioning feature with a launch video, and did everything that it needed to do. Because if I have the ability to create clips on one stream, I can create clips on any stream, given the way that I'm hacking Twitch's API. Nice. And so it was just a matter of, okay, cool, can I get things that are close enough, right? So like there's a stream delay that happens for each individual stream.
Yeah.
So that can be 2.5 to 5 seconds, depending upon where you are in the world and how close the nearest Twitch node is.
Yeah.
And so my hack around that was, hey, cool. I'm going to just sit here and say, I'm going to grab, so this is going to get super nerdy,
Hey,
but M3U8 files exist, and M3U8s are playlists of little teeny tiny 10-second or 12.5-second videos on the way that Twitch does its thing.
Oh, okay.
And so the way that I decided to make this all work was, instead of me, worrying about stream delays and trying to detect that and line up the clips exactly of, hey, let me just grab, Twitch says this is file 1223 through 1228.
Yeah.
Let me go and grab all of those and just say, hey, I trust your editor to make that happen. And that's where the Echo Multi side of things goes, because you have the ability inside of any non-linear editor. So that's Final Cut Pro, that's Adobe Premiere, whatever somebody else might be using, Vegas, if you're still using that. Like, you can sit there and you can line up the audio very quickly once the clips are close enough. And so that's where Echo Multi has come into play.
Oh, wow.
So Echo Multi allows you to see different points of view simultaneously on screen, or to swap between them very quickly. And one of the people that has been using that relentlessly, which I love, is Dan from Endlessly Co. So The Endlessly Co. is their website, and Endlessly is a Twitch and TikTok in particular editing house. So they do all of the extra promotions. And so what Dan has done for Rock Mom 85 and a handful of other creators, including She Snaps, is they'll do multiple cams stacked specifically for clips for TikTok. And so they'll do face cam moves, they'll do a bunch of other extras. So things like that are very interesting in regards to Echo Multi, where, to be able to see both sides of a team kill inside of Escape from Tarkov can be fun, or be a horrendous moment where you'd be like, oh, wow, we need to see the miscommunication actually happen. And it's fantastic.
The point of view stuff it's always got me, because like you said, for most of our lives we've only been able to see what we just our view of it. That's it.
You can't look over or on the other half of the screen on an N64 and cheat anymore.
Exactly.
It's not a thing that exists.
Exactly.
So so to be able to give viewers that secondary view, because yes, Rare Drops multicam exists, right? Mm-hmm. So the ability to see multiple streams on multiple platforms, which I give them all the credit in the world for executing on. But my system will actually listen to that same exclamation point multi to sit there and actually piece together, okay, hey, can I grab this stream? Because I can only work with Twitch right now. Facebook gaming has been a huge request, and Instagram Live has also been a request. I haven't been able to make it work because Facebook is not friendly to people like myself in many respects, because I'm hacking literally all the way down to FFmpeg calls in order to make these things happen.
Oh wow!
But they're not friendly to me, and it's a real fun challenge to try and continue to fight. But then there's a piece of me that sits there and says, hey, I haven't really penetrated Twitch, so why would I try and fight to get on Facebook gaming? So, but all that said, like, I can listen to that Echo Multi or that multi call, the multi set call, and actually, if they're on Twitch as well, automatically, as I call it, right over the top, and make the clips actually happen on both channels simultaneously, or as many as, and this is one of those things where I don't publicly say this out loud, but I will here, right? I initially launched this and said that, hey, it can only grab 4 streams simultaneously, thinking that, like, okay, 4-man squad, that's most multiplayer games. Yeah. I got challenged by Rock Mom 85 during her all night, ladies night on Tarkov to do 10-woman streams. And so I turned it on. The system worked. I just never turned it off. So there's a capability inside of the system to have 10-person simultaneous clips be grabbed. And that to me is, one of those things where, the server resources in order to make it happen are very minimal, but the impact that it could have for an editor or a content creator could be massive.
Yeah.
And that's why for me, it's like worth doing at the current small scale that Echoes is at, is that I can get away with it. So why not?
No, dude. I mean, just with that right there, that function right there. I mean, so many shooter players and stuff like that. That certainly, that like to have, out of
Squad
this
eliminations
world,
on Warzone are one of the best uses for that, where you can sit there and you can hear the comms between the two players of, hey, I think he's sitting in that and he's there. Okay, cool. I'm going to push it. And either you can see both views simultaneously if an editor does that, or you switch to who's the guy who's going to get the kill, and you can emphasize that in a Twitter clip or in a YouTube video. It's incredible what it enables editors and creators to make. And that's one of the fun things for me to sit here and say, okay, cool. Like, I am not going to sit here and define what people should make. This is one of the big things that I've undone or unlearned in myself over the course of the last 5 years, of stop being precious about how things should be.
Yeah.
And just allow people to do whatever they're going to do.
Yeah.
I can disagree with it personally, but guess what? Hey, I should enable it because the tool can make it happen. So let's make it happen. Yeah.
And like I said, I think the more and more people realize all this stuff, because it's, no, you are basically, are the only one out there that is this complex about everything. I mean, not complex, complex is in the fact that there's more to it than just hitting a button and hitting a clip.
Yep. I think about it in very different ways, right? Building the When Was That Said search engine, which is something that I don't talk a ton of publicly about, which is, the way that I hacked YouTube's closed captioning system, and including auto transcription and auto timing, so that you can actually search inside of what is said inside videos. That allowed me to do some very interesting things on a huge scale. And so, like, working with Gary Vee, and in particular that segmenting of content from his keynote speeches that he was doing in order to make Facebook ads and make Instagram ads and do all of that. Some of that was the 4x4. So most people don't know that, like, Gary was one of the people that popularized the 4x4 square videos with audio off but open captions on the bottom. When we started that, I was hand captioning stuff that I had already captioned previously. And so what we ended up doing was the When Was That Said search engine was built internally to sit there and actually allow Gary's team to search through all of his keynote content. But secondarily is if they were grabbing a 90-second clip or a 2-minute clip or a 30-second clip, they could then give me the timestamps on the start and the end inside of that larger keynote. And not only would the system grab the video asset, but it would retime the closed captions so that it went down to 0. And so that's how we did the 4x4 videos with the banner across the top, the 16:9 video in the center, and the open captions on the bottom, when Facebook and then very subsequently Twitter went to audio off as native, so that we could still have an engaging experience in the timeline as people were flipping through. Yeah. And so that piece gives me such a different perspective on, okay, hey, like, what is the user going to see versus what is the creator going to see? And how can I facilitate the creation aspect? That's where a lot of this stuff comes from. I mean, as we're staring at echo durations, right? Like that was, entire match, because sometimes you want to do a playthrough, or sometimes you want to, hey, I know that we're going to school the living life out of these guys because we've just crushed them on the 2 previous matches. Let me go and record this entire section. Yeah. Versus having it be in the last, echo command comes out, that's the last 30 seconds or the last 90 seconds. Or you do an echo long and you do echo long space 5, and that's the last 5 minutes. Yeah. Where if you want to grab the entire duration of something because of a playthrough or whatever else, you can do that with an echo start, echo stop, or your Stream Deck.
Yeah. No, that's what just the fact that the Stream Deck integration
I got pushed into that, and it was not a fun experience because I don't write JavaScript, but hey, I had to for this. And so no, that's actually one of the things that's on the board between here and the end of the year, is for me to actually get really good at writing JavaScript again, because it's been a very, very long time, and to build additional features that are currently not in the system into the Stream Deck integration, because I'll get better at these things.
Well, I don't know. I mean, yeah, because I'm assuming that all the new type of command, I mean, I call it a command software or a command post or whatever, but there's a lot, I've noticed this, like there's been more and more Stream Deck style equipment coming out. And does that all use JavaScript as well, or
it depends on the platform, right? And so the way that this works behind the scenes is that the Stream Deck is a very thin JavaScript application. I think it's less than 300 lines, all things said and done.
Oh, wow.
All it's doing is reaching out and touching an API endpoint using your streamer key. So that's, I give you a, 15 or 17 character key inside of your account. And the system behind the scenes will point that to the right URL and then use that streamer key as verification. One of the things that is also on the board for me between here and the end of the year is the ability to allow for moderators and approved users, if they have a Stream Deck, to actually do that for the channels that they are in.
Yeah.
So to sit there and say, okay, cool, like you are a viewer of said channel, hey, here's a Stream Deck key for you to use as well. And so all of this is in the effort to try and increase the number of clips that are being created so that more content can be created.
Yeah. No, I mean, just the fact you have a 15, 30, 45, up to a 90-second clip. I mean,
well, and that's just the native stuff, right? So you have the echo longs, which can go as long as 10 minutes. So echo long space, and then the number of minutes you want to grab. So basically behind the scenes, what it's doing is it's sitting there and saying, okay, cool. Hey, I can do quick math. The chatbot is doing quick math and saying, grab the last 600 seconds. Grab the last 530 seconds. Whatever it is that it needs to do, it's doing the math. And it's the same endpoint that is the 15, the 30, the 45, the 60, the 90. And so the system doesn't care. It's always been a limitation on what do I want users to use in order to make these things happen. And so there's this constant battle of, do I make things more complex and therefore more feature rich, or do I make things simple so that someone who can come onto the platform instantly turns on and it actually makes sense for them? Yeah. And for me, that's where one of those things on the whiteboard behind the camera here is onboarding, right? Making it more apparent what is in the system, helping people set up their Stream Deck, helping people set up their chatbot, getting all of those pieces in place. Because right now you sign in, right? And Joe, you saw this earlier today in the fact that you sign into this account, you create an account, and it is dropping you into the deep end, no instructions.
Yep.
Literally it's as coder as it could be of, hey, here's the coder and that's the thing that's going on. And as you can see there, you can see that there are users who are live. You can change settings. You can change any number of things. And so obviously we've got something broken right now regarding those tabs, but hey, that's life. And I'm breaking things left and right all the time. But it is what it is in that regards, where you can see all of the different chat commands there. That's the better version of the chat commands that are available. So time request, echo durations, multi-set, on and on and on. And all of that is available. And I try and make it abundantly available of what's available on Stream Deck, what isn't.
I've seen
in order to try and make things simple for the users who are there. But most users aren't paying users, and therefore they don't get access to this screen. So I should probably make that in front of the paywall, which I probably will do at some point. So,
okay.
But yeah, so you can actually do all kinds of things. Like if you requested a clip, and so this is actually one of the things that Sergeant Fidget requested, a streamer based out of Vancouver, Canada, was priority stacking. So if a streamer requests a clip after a clip has already been requested by a moderator or by an approved user, the streamer's clip wins. And so back in the day, it used to be that, okay, cool, they get the notification that, hey, this clip has already been requested.
Yeah.
And that didn't make sense because a streamer has a better vibe on timing that they want to use for a tweet or for a Facebook or a YouTube video. So giving them the priority stack was everything.
Yeah.
So that they can sit there and you as a content creator, you decide. Like, it'd be great if, like, you know, hey, you have multiple repeating requests, but the system doesn't care. So it'll sit there and it'll say, okay, great. Hey, I see that request. I see that you as a content creator have priority. And now the chatbot will even say, priority override. Streamer says this clip wins.
Oh, okay.
And so it'll actually communicate that to you.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, little upgrades here and there.
Yeah, that was one of the things. Yeah, this is a lot streamlined compared to what it was when I first signed up for it. So yeah, it's more.
I'm getting better about communicating. I just,
Hey,
like I said, I'm a nerd who wants to solve these problems first, and that's everything. So as you can see, you can see all kinds of folks who are using the platform right now. You can go and hang out with them, see how they're using it. Because one of the things that I've always noticed is the fact that it varies drastically how people use the service. And so, here you've got Draven _ and you've got Dan Drumstone currently live inside of the system. Yeah. And, like Draven's, playing Destiny 2 and Dan's playing music. And you can gain certain ideas of usage cases from watching other people use the tool as well.
Yeah.
And so, like, one of my favorite things to do especially on a Friday night is to log in and just see the 16 or 20 people who are currently live at any one point in time and just see the wall of faces. Yeah. And like, that's fun for me to sit there and see, like, okay, cool. Like, I built these relationships and these people are all using this tool right now. It's pretty amazing. So,
yeah. Oh, like I said, trust me. I mean, now, gift. But no, now that, like I said, now that I realized that I'm back in the system again. Like I said, I didn't realize it. But no, like I said, and for some of the future ones that I'm coming out, I'm going to be using the clip function, especially like now that our Friday nights are a Friday night set in stone type thing after this one. So that would be especially Kamikaze's chat, which is my partner in this. Her chat loves to do things. They're the ones that got me the way I was in mine, if you watched any of that video. But yeah, so those kind of things would be cool to, they clipped a few of things, but, you have to go in and hit clip or whatever, or.
Well, and especially if you're trying to grab, the chat room as well, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the features that has been requested that I think makes a ton of sense, which is right now the way that the clipping system works on Twitch and on anywhere, right? Clipbot or, Athenoscope or MakeEchoes is it grabs the video that is presented, but not the chat room.
Yeah.
So you can sit there and you may want to see what the chat room has as well. And so one of the things that I have been researching and working on is the ability to sit here and actually have the chat animated on the actual video asset that's used for Twitter or for YouTube. Yeah. So the way that this is going to work, and this is me kind of opening up the clamshell because why not? And secondarily, it holds me accountable because I say it publicly, is that, right? So I can use the chat logs and I can see the time into a stream that a chat is submitted. What I can also do is then animate that every 0.2 seconds. So five times a second, I can make it look like it's the chat room. But the interesting part about this is that you're shot in 16:9, or your stream is shot in 16:9, but on both Twitter and YouTube, it can support 21:9.
Yeah.
So if I go to a 20:9 ratio, that gives me an extra 640 pixels to slam that chat into. And if I'm willing to build the animation, I can slam all that in, and Twitter, YouTube doesn't care.
Yeah.
So long as it's still a valid MP4.
Yeah.
So I'm down to try and continue to go through the process of building this out. The thing that I keep struggling on is, okay, cool. Is this just a clip thing? Or is this, hey, Kaylee Grace decides that she wants to do a 6-hour stream like she did for 6 months or 400 followers or 400 subscribers stream that she did. And she did 12 hours. Do I want to capture the entire chat log and animate that? Because obviously that has a cost.
Yeah.
Or do I just want to sit here and say, okay, good enough? Like, hey, just for the clips for Twitter, for usage into compilations onto YouTube. Yeah. And that's one of them where I may start small, like I do a lot of things inside the platform.
Okay.
And then, hey, if I get a demand for it, I'll make it better.
Yeah. No. And it sounds like your feedback from your community is like, it keeps you on your toes. So, I mean, but
they again, right? They create the features, right? Yeah. It's not me. Like, they're the ones who are saying like, hey, can we do this? And my objective always is, how can I say yes? And how can I solve this problem? It's not easy. It's not fun. And yeah, there's a lot of late nights and beers and sushi and everything else to make it all happen.
Yeah.
That stated, like, I love enabling people to be able to do whatever their creative mind wants to do.
Yeah.
And that's me. Like, and that's, that comes with some negatives as well, because I refuse to sit here and set personal boundaries, but I'm trying to get better about that. Enjoy like I have before the call today, not doing anything. I worked out and I, just hung out on my couch. Like, that's where previously I used to work myself like, okay, cool. Like, I am conscious, I am working.
Yeah.
And that's not a maintainable thing for the very long term.
Yeah, because normally, like, when I'm sending you messages or something like that, it's just like, you're always telling me, it's like, hey, I was doing this, I'm doing this, and so that's why today, because I knew you were busy. You're busy 20, it seems like 24/7 on this, but and it is, and it's one of those things as a creator or anything else. It doesn't matter what you create. Like I was saying in the beginning, if you have a passion and a love for it, it doesn't feel like work. So you get tied up in it, and before you know, it's, you're 9 hours in and you got to be at work in 20 minutes, so.
And flow is one of those things that I optimize for, right? So this is something that, like, I get super nerdy about, and we can get really deep into it if you want to, but I don't think it's super interesting to your audience, is optimizing for flow. Right. So you saw it before we started here. Like, I sat there, I was like, dude, okay, cool. I'm going to go on mute. I'm going to go, fire up this song that triggers me into being in the on mode.
Yeah.
And that's something that I very much do. And so, like, I just spoke this last week with the creator or one of the co-founders of Kade.org, which is think of it, the best way to think of it is that it is a platform that enables flow for work. So the way that you kind of like, the Pelotons and the tonals exist for physical fitness, Kade focuses on flow for work and work effort. And they do some very interesting psychological tricks in order to make you more productive.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that. And so it's a lot of fun to be able to do and use. And like, I optimize for flow because I understand that, like, I know myself well enough to know that I can't maintain that for 12 or 16 hours like I used to in my 20s.
Yeah.
That I have to optimize for that 4-hour block or that 2-hour block or that 3-hour block before that phone call. And being cognizant of that is super useful. Like, I can't just willpower my way through things anymore as I get older in my age. And like, at a certain point, you just got to be like, okay, cool, it's good enough. And hey, like, I understand that this is the kind of stuff that I can do, but I can be smarter about the things that I do versus where I was in my 20s.
Yeah. Yeah. So much. Yeah. Because that, I did the same thing. I sit back here with my headphones when I'm working on, different, I have like a undiagnosed version of ADHD or whatever, but I don't know what it is, but it's just like I can start on one thing and then it's like, oh, bright shiny penny, bright shiny penny, it's just like, so I've got 3 things going at once and I'm trying to optimize those back to where I started.
That's where for focus matters, man.
Yeah.
And that's where for me, like, the set of intention of, hey, this is what I'm going to do for the next hour. Hey, first thing when I wake up, I got a half hour where I'm going to do some gratitude journaling and figure out kind of where I want to be for the day. And then after that first half hour or so, I jump on the bike, I jump on my Peloton, I then work out for an hour, and then I take a shower and then I, meditate, and it's not like I'm doing these things for any seriously long time, but that sets the stage for me to be productive for the rest of my day.
Yeah.
And I am fortunate in the fact, I guess, I certainly am fortunate in the fact that I don't have kids, but I don't have a partner as well. So I can define what my life looks like in a very clean way. And especially since, moving to Austin in the middle of a pandemic, I haven't exactly, met a ton of people out here who are digging me out of my house to go and have brunch.
Yeah.
So I got the extra added of like, I extracted myself out of the location that I was in Carlsbad, California, where I had a friend who was a mile and a half up the road. And, Jason and Caroline and I would hang out on a semi-regular.
Yeah.
So, I'm good in that regard. So, but optimizing for flow and understanding what you can put in and what the expected outputs are, that's just being smart in many, many respects.
Well, and that comes back to, MakeEchoes. It's the fact that this takes that time out for people to, the ones that do it full time and produce the content to put up to YouTube or Twitter. There's one thing here. It's like the Echo Flares. That's the Twitter upload,
yeah. So
right?
that's that. So basically, the way that works is that you can send a tweet instantly as a native video piece that is Echo Flare. So basically, what it'll do is it'll wrap it if you provide it with contextualized video bumpers. So you can say, hey, happening live now on Rebel Dog Live. And that could be a video animation. And then it could be the 15, 60, 45-second clip. And then the end clip on the end can be, hey, come join us. Yeah. And Echo Flares can go out live while the stream is still ongoing in order to try and grab attention and bring people into the stream itself. Secondarily is that the system is also smart in the fact that it can detect when it's live, when you're live, and when you're not live. So when you are not live, it will sit there and you can have a different set of what I call wrapping media. So it can be this similar kind of 5-second branded introduction. So while people are scrolling through their feed, there's that initial recognition. Yeah. And then that end clip call to action can be, hey, go watch my YouTube video. Hey, go follow my Facebook page. Go do whatever. One of the features that has been consistently asked is the ability for a clip inside of an Echo Flare to be sent out the next time you go live. So let's go and find the best clip that happened on yesterday's, video. Can I send that out automatically as a happened on last episode or happened last time? What's going to happen this time?
I like that.
And so the system is mostly there to do it. I just haven't been able to lock it all in. And so that's one of the things that for me is a request from a user that makes a ton of sense. And to make it automatic so that when the system detects that a stream has happened or a stream, because it can take up to 6 minutes because the Twitch API, it sucks. It's 6 minutes. It is what it is. To sit there and acknowledge that a stream has live, but then to instantly say, okay, cool. Instead of the I'm going live tweet that everybody sends, then to have it be a video asset that's natively playing on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram to say, hey, come and join.
I'm down.
That's the kind of things where, now you're starting to play into the space of, okay, cool. The attention economy on a whole. Yeah. Which is, hey, a lot of people when they're in the chair creating content, especially live stream content, are not creating content for other platforms simultaneously. They literally can't because they're in the chair. Yeah. That's where flares come in.
No. When you told me about that, when we talked prior, because I use Twitter a lot, and I know, like I said, I introduced you to GG's TV, and GG's TV is, just like I told them, it's a one-stop shop for anything that you can get away with Twitter. If you can get off Twitter and go to that for gaming and content creating or whatever, is that kind of what the things they're been talking with you about, is to try to incorporate this?
We are going to have a conversation next week. And so they have, their developer is smart enough to have already created a RESTful API, which I was super impressed by. And so we're going to sit here and talk about, okay, cool. Can we have these pieces also be functional there? Okay, right now, the way that things work is that, I am having to downgrade the bit rate on videos that are being pushed to Twitter because it literally chokes on anything above 2048 kilobits a second, which is frustrating because most streamers stream at somewhere between 3 4, 6, or 8,000 kilobits a second.
Yep.
So once you compress it to that level, it looks like garbage,
Yep.
unless it's teeny tiny in a news feed on a phone. Like at that point, it starts to look okay. And like for me, that's so frustrating.
Yeah.
And so the opportunity to sit here and have that be a video that lives on gg's.tv, like right now, the way that it works is that I push that full video asset to them, to Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
They hold that video, they, you know, CDN that, they do all the things.
Yeah.
One of the major questions that I have for GG's is, you know, hey, do you guys have a video back end? Like, I'm happy to host that off of my, you know, S3 bucket and where I store all of my clips, but I just need to know how is their video player going to play and all of that.
Gotcha.
And so that's where, like, working with people who are passionate, and I actually was watching that interview that you did with them this morning in order to prepare for this, in order to sit here and learn a bit more about Austin and what he's got going on. And so for me, it's very interesting to sit here and try and figure out, okay, like how can I get all these pieces together? There's also a piece of me that sits here and says, like, I'm a one-person shop. Like, I should be focused. I should, you know, just do the one thing. And there's always that piece of me that sits here and says, but I could. And that's where it
totally
gets
understand
to be fun,
that.
where I struggle with it at times, where it's like I can versus I should.
Yeah.
And that's very hard for me.
No, I'm totally in that same boat. I do that a lot with this show, you know, ever since this show's been surprisingly enough for me, you know, because I tried to do a talk show like a year ago.
Sure.
And it failed miserably, you know, didn't have anybody, but I didn't know a lot of people. And so over the last year, you know, I've made a lot of connections and, you know, and that's helped out. And then it's just, you know, it's to the point now. So like, I'm really blessed that, you know, people are actually coming to me and asking. So it's like, okay, but no, sure. I'm totally in that same boat you are. It's just like, I take on so much. I need to prioritize what, yes, this needs to be done, and no, this I can hold off on. And
yeah, I mean, like, you only have so many hours in a day, right? And you, like, for me, it's a matter of, you know, like I said, flow and optimization of that output, right? Yeah. And also recognizing that, like, my health matters to me more than it ever has, right? Yeah. You know, I've watched a lot of friends go through some, you know, health stuff recently, and not to mention my sister's, you know, she's had a very interesting pregnancy that she's currently in the final stages of, which, you know, like, you know, not to sit here and try and bring everybody down, but at the same time, like, it's an honest statement to be like, okay, cool. Like in your teens and your 20s, you can get away with a lot because your body could react really well. And at a certain point in your 30s, it can't anymore. And let alone, you know, friends that I have in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, like, it's just not, it like, things affect you differently. And so I have to be very cognizant of that. And making a conscious effort regarding the things that I give my time and attention to, like this is going to change. And this is one of the things that, like, Gary Vaynerchuk really drilled into my forehead, is that, you know, the decisions that I'm making today could change tomorrow because of new information. Yeah. And the things that I value today, where I'm like, cool, I'm going to work out all the time and I'm going to, you know, figure out all these pieces. And then, oh wait, hey, I find a pretty girl that I want to hang out with. And now all of a sudden I'm rededicating time that I would have been doing my night workouts or stretches or anything else to go and hang with her. Yep. Like, you know, that's not invalid. That's just different values. Yeah. And that's okay too. Life changes.
Yeah. And that's just it, you know, and like I said, and with this, you know, like you said, with all of that, with life, you know, and, you know, because so many people, when they sit there and see a streamer, that's the one thing they think. It's like, oh, they just sit behind a camera and that's all, and hit a button and play games or talk or whatever. They don't realize.
Some people do.
Well, yeah. I mean, but just a normal viewer don't realize just how much goes behind this. Well, hi, Sir Hans Wolf.
It's a lot of work. Like, at the end of the day, it is a lot of work to put yourself out there. And I think that streamers, live streamers in particular, people who are creating live content, do it in a way that is vastly harder than content creators on other platforms, because the magic of editing is the magic of editing. Yeah. Versus being here in this scenario where there's nowhere to hide. You make a flub, you say something that's offhanded, which I think is partially part of the reason why the gotcha culture and live streaming simultaneously exist, but also hurt one another.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like people say dumb stuff all the time.
Yeah.
That stated, like holding somebody accountable for the rest of their lives because of 1 5-second mistake. That to me seems pretty extreme, but that's me, right?
Yeah,
you know,
I agree.
I don't believe that somebody should not be able to grow and change over time. But the Twitterverse says that if you did something 20 years ago, or like my Twitter account is 13 years old, it could have its own Twitter account now. And like I guarantee that if somebody went back through the oldest of tweets, I'm sure there's stuff there where I was drunk with friends, hanging out, and you know, being out there on the internet as a whole, that could be embarrassing to not only my business with MakeEchoes, but my employer at Yoga with Adrian. Like, you know, Chris and Adrian are fantastic people, and they would have backlash because of something stupid I said 13 years ago, well before I ever started working with them, well before they started their channel, but they would have to address it, and that's not fun. And there's a piece of me that sits here and says, very much like Philip DeFranco does, who happens to be somebody who I would call an acquaintance. You know, I want that history to exist, because I don't want to sanitize who I have become, because those experiences have been instrumental in making me the human that I am now, even the mistakes. And I don't want to sit there and, you know, give up. Like, let's say I have kids. Let's say that's a thing that happens. And I have a 17-year-old daughter who says, hey, Kade, I want to go and, you know, not go to college and go drive around the US. I want her to see the mistakes that I made on my trip. Like, I don't want to sanitize that for her.
Yeah, no.
And like, I want her to have her own experience, but also be willing to learn from my own. That's the ideal scenario. Granted, a 17-year-old daughter is probably not going to listen to anything Dad has to ever say.
No, 13-year-olds don't either. So,
I mean, but at the end of the day, right, to sit there, and I don't want to prevent that from happening, right? Because at a certain point I will die, like, and they will have that as a remnant from me. So that to me is fun.
Guildmaster on Glimish. Sorry, I'm sitting there trying to look at the Glimish chat too. I didn't realize it was up. But no, Guildmaster, it does not work on Glimish yet.
Not yet, and that is a conversation that could happen sooner than later. It's just a matter of, again, it's similar to the conversations with Facebook and the conversations with a bunch of other platforms, figuring out what the M3U8 scenario is, if it exists, if it doesn't, and secondarily, if it does, how they're indexing and where I can hack that system. Because right now, the way that I hack Twitch is borderline aggressive, and I am shocked at certain points that it still works, but it's been a year and they can't really stop me because their CDN for the VODs requires this injection point to stay the same. And so at this point, it's
just for you guys to know, when he talks about hacking, it's not like the bad hacking that you guys hear and see. This is actually approved
undocumented APIs.
Yeah, this is actually good hacking.
It's not, well, like, I say that it's hacking, but it's potential feedback points that exist inside the system that aren't very public. So the exact same way that your Twitch clips are generated is the exact same way that I get my time codes and I get the sections of a video from a VOD that's happening live in order to create the clips. It's not that I'm going in and being like, okay, cool, like I'm inside of Twitch's servers. Like, I trust Amazon's team to be a heck of a lot more talented than I am. But can I ride over the top the way that they do their own native clipping and the way that they do VOD distribution? My answer so far has been yes. It is amazing that it continues to work, because in many respects it probably shouldn't, but I'm excited about the fact that it does. And, Elgato, and I've spoken with Julian Fest, the CEO over there, and Taylor, the head of, US strategy, like, they're very intrigued, and so are the teams. I spoke with multiple, especially during the launch era of Echoes. I sat there and I spoke with several of Twitch's original team because they were super nerding out about how I was making it all work. Mm-hmm. And like, I can play with those folks. I can have fun with them, and everybody sees that I'm not trying to be malicious regarding the usage of those endpoints. I'm trying to actually help in many respects, and this is something that we could definitely deep dive into. I'm trying to help bring more attention, more subscribers, more revenue to Twitch, which is why Twitch, in my mind, has every reason in the world to not only allow me to continue to do it, but to facilitate me doing more of it.
Yeah, because you basically have taken their old, outdated clip service and totally basically wiped it off the map.
It's one of the things that, like, I had been approached by a handful of investors who wanted to invest in Echoes way back when, like literally right after the start. Oh, and wow. I had grand total, if I would have sum it all up, I don't know, $500,000+ being offered, and I turned it down because I knew that A1, it could be shut down tomorrow by Twitch, and 2, I wasn't sure there was an actual business here. So by taking on debt, it didn't make sense to me, right? And that's me. Like I'm very cognizant of making money decisions. And so in this regards, right, like one of the things though that one of those investors or potential investors really wanted to do was to get somebody on Twitch's team, on Amazon's team, to invest as well, because if I'm an internal kind of potential, then it makes it 10 times more likely that they're just going to acquire the company. And there's a piece of me that sits here and says, great. There's also a piece of me that sits here and says, that was never the ambition. The ambition was always to just help creators create more stuff that is interesting and compelling. And maybe that's short-sighted. Maybe that's myopic. But at the end of the day, like, there are enough other clip creation services out there, which I've made mention of here in this, or other ones that are going to come along, because some kid's going to figure out the same way that I'm doing it, but he's going to do it 10 times better because he's a more talented coder than I am. Like, and he's probably in school or not, and skipping school and working on it. Like, that's like, I was that kid at a certain point in my life. It just, I was doing that in the early 1990s. Like,
I mean, for what you've done so far, I mean, for what, like I said, I'm nowhere near a veteran creator, but I have I've talked to a lot of them that's been in the business for like 8 years or plus, even, back when Twitch was Justin TV, and back when Mixer was Beam, and the clipping service is always like one of the things that, because they are dedicated and professional, this is their job, this is what they do, so any extra workload that they can eliminate would be helpful. So that's why I've been promoting this, especially to a lot of people now that we've been really talking into it. I mean, I've always promoted you since I found you, but
well, I mean, and thank you for that. Like, at the end of the day, right, it's really important to try and facilitate the process, right? Because all of this requires new content, right? The content, like, that I think, to me, is one of the pieces that, is so intriguing. Having been in the space for whatever, 15, 20 years, 16 years, whatever it's been, like, it's been a long time that I've been in the total software on the internet and media space. And it's like, you always need new content. So the things that I'm doing today may not be worthy of attention tomorrow because things change. And being reactive to that is everything.
Oh, yeah. And like I said, one of the things I really like, because I know we talked about the Twitter integration back when you came into my chat.
When it was previously called Echoing Now.
You were talking about, you were working on, that was your project to do at that point in time. So, and I told you once that became a part of it, for sure. And now that I'm doing this, that is going to benefit me, because like I said, like you said, once you get to the point to where you get the, it fires up and you tweet out a previous clip, this is what happened last time. The Friday night show is really going to be, I think my chat on Friday nights. Yeah, I think my Friday night chat is going to be really excited to start using this now that it's going to be re-implemented into the chat. So.
Yeah, and I hope that that's the case, right? And obviously, you know, it's one of those things where the changes are going to happen, right? You know, different people, different use cases, different experiences, and different requests. And I'm willing to sit here, and you saw it, you know, when I was sitting in your chat room a couple of times that I did that, or anybody else, right, that I've done it for over the course of the last year, right? Is that like, I'm more than happy to sit there and steal good ideas, right? And I'll try my best to sit here and try and give you credit, like, but I think that the service is better because of it. And I'm super down to just acknowledging that, like, I might be the person who's coding this, but I am 100% never been a streamer, right? I've never, ever been that guy. And I'm 100% likely not the smartest person to make decisions based on the streaming experience, because I have zero of it. And so I've been asked multiple times by multiple people to sit here and be like, okay, cool. Can, like, just start to use it. Go live on the MakeEchoes channel, go live on your own channel, like, and just go and interact and get the experience. And there's a piece of me that sits there and says, yes. And I've got 112 different ideas to sit here and talk about where I could have a show with not having any audience, but then cool, I can, you know, echo duration or start and stop on these things in order to make YouTube videos, or talk about, you know, my experience working with all of the celebrities that I have and explaining why their model is so different than the small time creator who's just starting out, and how to shortcut so much of that. Yeah,
no, and like I said, you know, as somebody now, like I said, I'm about two and a half. Well, I know I'm past 2 years, but you know, as being fully dedicated to doing the streaming thing, I did it on and off there in the beginning, but now for 2 years, this is what I've, you know, been doing every night. No, this is just amazing. I mean,
it's only gonna get better. Like, that's my thing, like, about this as well, is that, like, feedback from you, Joe, and from everybody else is going to continue to be incorporated, right? And I have, you know, I'm fortunate in the fact that I am very, you know, comfortable in my job, and I don't have outside pressures to sit here and either take on money or go do a ton of marketing or do a ton of things, or, you know, hey, I have the pressure of, I've got 4 other employees. Like, I don't have that.
Yeah.
And so as a result, like, things will move slow at certain times. Like right now I have a major work project that's undergoing that will take me the better part of a year. And like, that's a lot of my coding time, where previously, like, my job didn't have me coding at all, because I basically did it in the first 9 months since I became a full-time employee after being a consultant for 5 years. Yeah. So I could sit there and, you know, okay, cool. Like, I can lean back and, all right, hey, it's 3:30. I could probably bug off, and Chris and Adrian aren't going to care. And it's not like I'm in an office. I'm sitting here at the same desk. So why don't I just swipe over to the next space on my Mac and start coding? So I can get away with things like that. And like, that's not going to be the case. And so, like, there are pluses and minuses in all of this. And so it's just one of those things where I don't have the pressure, but I can continue to try and create the product that matters.
Yeah.
And if that means that it gets acquired by Elgato, which is a conversation that we've already kind of had and decided that wasn't a fit for them right now, like, great. If it gets acquired by Amazon, totally fine. And I apologize that you're probably hearing the rainstorm that just kicked on. That just kicked on here in Austin today. It's a thing. So, like, at the end of the day, I want to make a tool that is useful. And if it has an audience and it has a paying user base, great. If it doesn't, great. I can sit here and I can point to all this, and I definitely can. In my personal history of, like, getting better as a coder results in me writing more efficient, better code the next thing. And I'm going to find a different problem to solve. It's just a matter of what and where.
Yeah. Hey, no, that's what makes it good. I mean, that's why I'm so impressed. You know, I was so impressed, and I'm so honored that, you know, you came on the show, you know, and I didn't realize it was the first one you'd been on for the year. So I'm like doubly honored now. But yeah, it's going to be a big thing. I mean, you've already, from the time I talked to you back in the beginning till now, I mean, it's like totally blown up from what I see. And
she said it from the jump, right? Like I approached her literally the week after, and I was like, "Hey, Jess, can I get a phone call with you?" And she sat there and she heard out kind of what the idea was and where it was going, and she sat there and she said, "Kade, I got a secret for you." I was like, "Okay, Jess, what's up?" And she's like, "This is gonna be a thing." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever. It's not a big deal, whatever."
No.
You know, she was like, "This is gonna be a thing. This is gonna be a thing. That's gonna be a thing for you." And like, be respectful of the fact that it is a thing. And so I sat there, and as we approached the year, I was actually getting my tire repaired after picking up a wood screw because of the construction that's going on across the street. And I was getting my tire repaired, and I was sitting in a restaurant hanging out, having lunch. And I sat there and I sent Jess the text message of like, here's all the things that I have shipped, the 25 different features that shipped in year one. And I sent that to her, and then and this is right before she was having her baby. And I was like, yeah, I guess you were right. This is going to be a thing. and she sat there and she fired back, and snaps being snaps, Jess being Jess. She sat there and she was like, yeah. And she had an expletive on the end of it. And I was like, yep. Like at a certain point, you just got to respect your friends for believing in you more than you believe in yourself at certain times.
Yeah.
And she was willing to call it from the jump, and she was right. Or at least she's right enough that it's had, 26,000 hours worth of Twitch streams watched and nearly 2,000 YouTube videos uploaded. So like, I literally can't watch all the content that's coming through any longer, which is kind of yes, it is good. But at the same time, it does make it feel a lot larger than it is. And where like, I wish I could sit down every day like I did in the early days when there were 6 streamers using it, and I could watch all of the videos and be like, okay, cool. So their timing is off by half a second. Let me go and switch that for them. Like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
But I want to, like, but I still got the day job. So.
Well, you never know, it could be, just like just like me, and just like there could be just that one moment, that defining moment that this is what you do.
I mean, yeah. And I certainly thought that was going to be the case with the Echo Multi side of things, where, tagging Lupo, tagging Kali, tagging all of those, the people that I created that were in that first exposition of that team kill that happened with a 5-man team.
Yeah.
And I thought that was going to be one of those breakout moments. And, it was, but it wasn't simultaneously. And it's one of those things where I have to keep rolling back and saying, hey, this is where it's at right now.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be here forever, but this is where it's at right now, and be respectful of that.
Yeah.
And I think that Jason Zook, who is a dear friend who's in Carlsbad, who was the reason why I moved down there, he's run a company called teachery.co. Now, actually, just bought the .com this last week. After all these years, he's finally got it. So teachery.com, which is a platform that creates for like teaching courses, right? So like the platform for that kind of like learning management system and selling courses and doing all that kind of stuff. And, he's been running that for 7 years. And he sat there and he turned to me in one of my Monday calls with him and said, hey man, it's 10 times better for you to fail while you have 25 or 50 people on the platform versus 500.
Yep.
And I keep coming back to that conversation in my mind because it's so smart. Like, hey, like I want to get this stuff right, and I want these things to grow over time, because I could blow up, right? I could do an NFT product that is taking clips and putting them on the blockchain and and like one of the things that I've talked about with people, but I haven't talked with this individual themselves, is like, I would love nothing more than to have clips be created as NFTs that then, Dr. Lupo creates those things that are collectible assets, but in the contract itself, 10 or 15% of all of the future sales and 50% of that first sale goes to St. Jude's. Like where forever and ever and ever, as a collectible asset, St. Jude's is collecting whatever blockchain that I build that on cash. Like that to me would be super dope and tons of fun and really hard to do. But there's a piece of me that also says like that'd be great, like, and it'd be fun, but do I want to fail at that high of a level right now? And the answer is no. Like, I'm much more focused on, like, can I build a better onboarding experience? Can I build this thing so that it actually works with, you know, especially given the changes that Twitch makes like on a weekly basis. Like right now, so like 2 weeks ago, like the 14th, they changed the way that the chat bots can actually enter rooms. So like it used to be like I could be like, cool, here's 55 rooms, go chatbot, go.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they sat there and they're like, didn't tell anybody, didn't say anything, didn't update their docs. They just stopped it at 21. So 20 rooms you could get into within 10 seconds. And then all of a sudden, anything 21 plus, it wouldn't get into. And it ended up being that because of some of the stuff that's going on with hate raids, that they sat there and they were like, cool, you get to join 20 rooms every 10 seconds. It took me 2 weeks to figure that out and be like, cool, let me go and time.sleep 10 seconds if moldus equals 20 equals 0, which is, you know, like a stupid coding line. So basically, if the number that is cycling right now, the number of users that it's in, is divisible by 20 and has a 0 remainder, wait 10 seconds in order to start trying to connect. That's all that code is doing. It is a stupid thing. But as soon as I solved that, it was like, shipped. Okay, cool. Back in all the rooms. And previously I was freaking out because I was having to run multiple bots on a single server, and that can cause all kinds of problems.
Yeah.
And like, if one bot fails, like, how do I get that notification so that I can restart it without restarting all the bots? And it was just like, it was a nightmare. So like things like that Twitch throws that in the system as well. Like, they're going to continue to do the things that they can to defend themselves.
Yeah.
I'm just, you know, like creators, along for the ride.
Yeah.
And I have to figure out how to make it work. And that's where it's fun. Like, and that's a challenge. Yeah.
When you talk about that, that's one of the things I think Twitch fails at for developers is they do not communicate.
Like, it's like YouTube in that regards, where it's like YouTube doesn't communicate about what their demonetization strategy is on any video. They don't communicate. They don't communicate anything. They'd be like, cool, it's a copyright strike. And you're like, for what? And like I played my own song against myself. Well, technically, those 4 chords were enough to match a song that is by Kanye. Yeah. And you're like, no, like, that's not the way this should work.
No.
But because it's a bunch of robots, it doesn't matter. They sit there and they have to work in defense of themselves because they don't want to be sued.
Yeah.
And they're deep enough pockets, and I've watched this happen inside of my day job, where if you're a large enough target, you will get sued. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
And that's, again, one of the many reasons why, for me, like, staying small and respecting the fact that it's small and working with the few dozen creators that I have right now, like, it's fun. Like, could it become a thing where, like, all of a sudden, like, cool, I have 300 or 500 subscribers to the platform? Like, that'd be great. And one of the things that I'll tell here, because I just announced it semi-publicly, is like, so I sent out an email to 100 plus, previous, current, and former users, and people who signed up for the platform, created an account, but never started an account, that, like, hey, like, an affiliate program is coming, and it's not going to be a little affiliate where it's like, hey, it's a 5 or 10%. It's 50% of what the first month's revenue is.
Wow.
So, like, that to me is where it's like, okay, cool. Like, if you're one of these alpha folks who came in on day 0 and are paying $29 a month, and now the big product, which is the only product that's currently publicly available, is $49 a month because I built out all these additional features.
Yep.
Hey, one a month, and you effectively are now down to $5 in order to use the platform. That's a win. And oh wait, hey, if you're somebody who comes in today, 2 sales, and you're getting your stuff for free. Like, that to me is where it makes sense.
Yeah.
And so, like I'm not trying to grow at tons of scale. Is it possible that it happens? I mean, this conversation with GGs.tv could happen, and that could be a thing. Or Elgato could sit here and decide to make me a featured creator on their store, which is a conversation we've already had, and we'll see if we decide, both sides say that now's the time. So, like, again, like, lots of opportunity for fun things to happen. I have my own ambitions, but I also have to be respectful of my own time and respectful to the creators to sit here and be like, okay, cool. Like, do I really want to build these new features? And question mark, do they still work? And am I going to stress out about it in the middle of the night? Or do I just want to, have a functioning black box business that, like I did 4 weeks ago, whatever it was, where I didn't log into the servers at all for a week. Like, I logged into the back end application side to be able to be like, hey, did everything work? And as soon as it did, okay, cool. That's all I did for Echoes for the day. It was 5 minutes in and out. And like, there's a piece of me that loves that black box business. There's a piece of me that sits there and says, I don't think I can maintain that long term. So, but being responsive to creators is, just, okay, cool. Can I add one feature a day? And I feel like that's ultimately where I think that I can get to in having a ton of fun with this going forward, which is cool. Oh, yeah. Your community has a request on a Friday night. Okay, cool. Saturday afternoon, it's live. Yeah. Like that to me, and doing that one a day kind of thing, I think is ultimately where I'd like to be. We'll see if I can get the jobby job to allow me to do that on a regular. And that's it. Chris and Adrian are pretty flexible about things. So they might, as soon as, either one of them watches this interview, hear that out. So,
that's good. To be able to do that, to have that backing, to be able to pursue what you want to do on top of still making a living.
It was actually a requirement. So it's funny enough because I sat there and I said, hey, I want to continue to work on these things because I had started this before I got the job offer. So with Yoga with Adrian and Find What Feels Good, the membership community behind it, I had turned down this job 2 other times. And so I, got approached a 3rd time by Chris saying, hey man, we really want to do some things on a technical basis. We'd love to have you on the team. And I finally said yes. And I sat there and I responded, hey, I want to continue to build Echoes. And he's like, good. And I was like, what do you mean good? This was supposed to be like a sticking point in a job negotiation. And he goes, no. He's like, I understand my team. I understand what we're doing. I understand that you need executive calls, executive authority, agency to make decisions. You're not going to get that inside of our company. We need you to do these things, do those things, but have this thing on the outside that allows you to continue to make those calls and have that agency. Yeah. And that's something that I respect to the moon and back Chris and Adrian for, because they were looking at me as a person, not me as somebody who could solve their problem as an employee, right? They were looking at all of it and saying, okay, cool. We know that you need to have this in order to stay normal. We've watched you work at companies we've invested in. And when you don't have that ability to make a call and make it stick, it drives you crazy. And I was like, yeah, you're right.
Hey,
so,
like I said,
good on them.
That's just with anybody. I mean, to have that support, I mean, in creating or in developing or anything, that's the bomb. But is there anything else you want to add to this? I think we covered just about.
No, I mean, we've gone all the way up and down. I mean, we could talk about theory of all kinds of additional social media content creation strategies and whatnot, but I don't feel like that's an appropriate thing to do at this exact moment. This might be an opportunity for us to come back and talk about the attention economy in total, and how creators need to be thinking about it slightly differently than the way that they are being instructed to by other top tier creators. But for right now, I have genuinely enjoyed this, and thank you for using the platform back in the day, and being supportive of it, and for asking me, because I wouldn't have pursued this on my own. Right, I would not have hit you up and be like, okay, cool. So let me be on your stream. That's not something that I want to do, because I try to now live my life slightly behind the shadows. Yeah, and that's okay. But thank you. I genuinely appreciate it, and thank you to all of you who have been watching. The VOD, the live. I don't it's all weird to me that y'all pay attention. But thank you.
I know it's still kind of weird to me sometimes, but. But no, I appreciate it. No, like I said, I thank you. This has been a very informative. Like I said, I'm really excited that the Twitter function is available, and hopefully, GGs can get involved with this, because I'm a promoter of them too as well, because I really like the idea that it's a one and all community, and it gets rid of the toxicity from Twitch or from Twitter and everything else. So, GGs is good for that. So I hope you guys can come up with something and be a part of that.
Something out. Yeah. I mean, I think that Aaron and the team behind that are smart enough that we can sit there, and it may take us a little while, but we'll figure it out. I don't see a reason why I shouldn't be posting content out there. Let me put it that way, on the surface, given what I've seen over the course of the last 4 or 5 days since we've been starting to talk.
Yeah. And hopefully if the creators of Glimish are listening, as soon as you guys get what you need to do, definitely hit this man up and get your guys' clipping service through him, because, this is it's revolutionary. It is. I mean, I'm sorry. I've only been in it 2 years, but I've been around watching streams a lot longer, and I know that's like the number one thing people like is a good clipping service.
Yeah.
So,
people like good content,
yeah.
right? And that's what all this boils down to is people like good content, and this helps in that process and helps like one of the things that was super informative for me, and I'll leave on this note, is Robert Rodriguez's book, right, about talking about editing in camera. Editing in camera allows the creation of the actual end film, end product being that much easier because you're not having to go through reels and reels and reels of footage like he did back in the day. And it's similar here, where if you can have this system help, and secondarily is that it's, creating clips on, actually native clips on Twitch and actually native clips on Twitter and Facebook and Insta. Like it starts to be a much more fun kind of experience where you can just focus on being present in the moment.
Yeah.
And then great. If it federates out, that content federation scheme that I believe in, that thesis that I mostly wrote in my master's thesis on YouTube and Revision 3, like that content federation game matters, and especially in the attention economy. So
yeah, and
thank you again for the time.
No problem. Thank you for being on, and you're always welcome to come back. Just hit me up on Twitter, and like I said, I'll get you into the Discord for the show. That way you can. Everybody can interact, and if you have questions, they can ask questions in there too. So
cool.
It's not, like I said, it's slowly growing, just like the rest of us, but we're getting there. But yeah, just like you, I don't want to grow really, really fast, and I do not want to blow up. I mean, I want to slow. That way I can enjoy the ride up.
Yeah, well, and this is a thing that Gary has said for a lot of years. Gary Vaynerchuk has said for years, which is everybody started at zero.
Yep. I definitely.
Everybody started at zero.
Yep.
So it's just a matter of, okay, cool. Like, what can you do to sit here and help facilitate growth to that water level, right? Yeah. Water reaches its level, and it always does. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. It'll always reach its level. Yep. So, for you, like that may be, hey, the Discord community is a thing, or hey, Glimish or whatever, right? It'll reach its level, and what can you do to make it more likely that it reaches the higher level? That is it. Yeah. Yeah. So thanks again.
No problem. Like I said, you're always welcome back. Like I said, just hit me up in a DM or whatever, and we'll figure out something to get you back on here if you come up with an idea you want to share with the rest of us.
I have a sneaking suspicion that it might be around a feature or two that we've talked about or talked around here. So we'll figure something out.
All right. I'll always make time for you, bud. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you much.
Kade Dworkin with MakeEchoes, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you go check it out. The link is in the it should be in the chat. Yeah.
MakeEchoes.com is the answer to all this. And MakeEchoes is obviously the same on Twitter is the primary platform, but I've also got reserved space on Insta and on Facebook, I believe. But I don't post over there on a regular because I don't like those platforms. Yeah. This is not me. But I've reserved them in the event that I need to. Or that I hire somebody whose job it will be to do those things.
It's always good to have your name across anything that can grab people's attention, period. So
namespace, that is its own discussion that we could talk about for hours, but hey, we'll leave that for another day.
Yeah, well, definitely, yeah. Like I said, I'll definitely come back on. We'll get something set up. Once you get around to putting together what you want to talk about, just hit me up and we'll get you back on.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. All right, guys. We'll talk to you later. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate it. This was fun. This was freaking exciting. Let me get out of the screen. I don't like this camera full screen. It's too bright. The reason why this is I'm working on two different computers. Anyways, thank you guys for being here. I am Rebel Dog. This here is DawgHouse Live. Like I said, we stream live on Twitch and on Glimish. And sooner there'll be other platforms coming up. But anyways, MakeEchoes. I am definitely going to start using I've got to switch my accounts over to this one because this is basically the one I run off most now. But yeah, Friday Night Fireball, you guys are going to have fun. There's going to be more clips. I can almost guarantee it. Anyways, but make sure you go give them a follow. Check out their service. If you're a content creator or a full-time streamer, this is where you need to be. plain and simple. So, but anyways, another one is Tuesday night. This coming Tuesday night, we have Psycho Plays as a guest host for Creators Tips Tuesday. So make sure you get your butts over here. 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Thursday night, we have Mr. Streams. Both of those. Mr. used to be a partner on Mixer. Known him for quite a while. We're going to come in and just kick back, have some fun, find out what he's been doing. He left streaming for a while. He's back. So we're going to kind of figure out what he's been doing, what he's got planned for his streams. But y'all cannot miss Tuesday night. Come on, dude. It's Psycho Plays. You cannot miss Psycho Plays. If you have not ever seen Psycho Plays, you're missing out. But anyways, I am Rebel Dog. This here is the DawgHouse. And also stay tuned. Fireball Friday night comes back this Friday with Kamikaze and the dog. Minus the words y'all. You cannot use the words y'all no more. But anyways, we are out. You guys have a good rest of your night. And we'll talk to you later. I still have not got an end screen on this thing. I swear to God. Anyways, you guys have a good night. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye. Thanks for hanging out. Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's it for me today. You guys have a good one. Thank you. Be good. And if you can't be good at it. We'll talk to you guys later. Later.